from the legal heartbeat of the city.
Okay, well, it's 2:00. Lisa, we're going to start off, before we start our meeting, we're going to start off with a little tribute the council put together for Mayor Ron Smith. So take it away.
So kind of a funny story. I teased Ron a little bit about it. He bought a new Jeep a couple of years ago, and he had a winch installed on it. And I said, "What are you going to do with a winch?" He goes, "Man, I'm going to winch things." And I said, "You don't even go off road or four-wheel drive or anything." He goes, "Yeah, but I'm going to winch stuff." So every time I'd see him, I'd say, "Hey, did you use that winch?" And one day he came to work and he said, "I did. I winched one of my grandchildren out of bed." So that was a pretty funny story. So I am going to miss Ron. I'm going to miss his sense of humor. But I will tell you that, as I've said before, that his fingerprints are all over this community. And this is right here in the heart of Ward 2 is Pyramid and McCarran Interchange. This was Ron's baby. It made it happen. And this has turned out to be a wonderful project for the city of Sparks. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody could see in person the good work he did while he was in service to the community.
So a funny story I have with Ron, it's not just an individual time, it's a whole bunch of different times. You ask him a question, so like, "Hey Ron, you want to go run the marina or something?" And he would go, "Absolutely no." And it got me every time. I knew the answer was going to be no, but he would just nod. And I definitely stole it. I've used it a couple times. I think it's a good little joke that was just always got you laughing. And that was Ron. He knew when to be serious, but he had a good time. He took life, life was good and solid, had fun, made good memories, and definitely put a smile on a lot of our faces. One of Ron's goals was flood mitigation. That's why he's been the chairman of the Truckee River Flood Management Authority since the very beginning, when he first got elected many years ago. And so one of those projects that he was pushing is here at the Vista Narrows, which is right east of Vista Boulevard, and it's where the Truckee River narrows down, giving it the name the Vista Narrows. And we're looking at terracing out right here and disperse it here into the terracing where the natural vegetation is, instead of dispersing it into our industrial part of Sparks or downtown Reno, or really anywhere upstream from the Truckee River. And that's a project, thanks to Ron, is moving forward. And it's all because of Ron's leadership at the Flood Management Authority to get us where we are today. And it's an awesome project that not only helps Sparks, but it helps all of us as a whole, for our whole region. We're all gonna miss you, Ron. I'm gonna miss you. The whole community will miss you. I wish you could see all the love that's happening. We're all passing it around to each other. We're all here for each other right now, as you were for all of us for many of years. I wish I would have known you longer. There's no doubt at all. You're definitely a fun character, but you're a worker bee. You got things done. You know how to do that, and you also know how to have fun. And that's what life's all about. So thank you, Ron, for everything you've done for us, for myself. You made a big impact on the whole community, and thank you for everything.
It was such a pleasure to be appointed to the Sparks City Council by Ron Smith. In 2018, when he became mayor, I was allowed to apply to his position on Sparks City Council, and he appointed me, and so we got to work side by side for the last couple of years, and it's just been an honor to work side by side with him. He always was upbeat, always happy, and loved to tell jokes whenever he could and make people laugh or smile. So it was truly a pleasure with him. Also, it was incredible that you got to see how genuine he was as a person, how much he cared about our community and everyone within our community, and wanting the best for everybody. And it's truly going to be a loss for us as a community. One of the things that I am so thankful for is just after my appointment, Ron asked me if I would be willing to step in to represent the city of Sparks on the Mayor's Challenge. The Mayor's Challenge was set up to prevent suicide of veterans, service members, and their family. And at first I was a little taken back by this, but I knew, like the Veterans Memorial here, caring for veterans and doing everything we can to assist them was important to him. So I said yes. And it came to be that it was a wonderful opportunity to get to know men and women that are serving or have served for us in the military, and getting to do what whatever we can to help them in their times of trouble. So it was great to see Ron coming out. We met at the National Guard several times. He talked to over 1,200 service members about his experience, being vulnerable to them about his struggles in life, and likewise encouraging them not to choose suicide. So yes, truly an honor to work with Ron.
It's hard to come up with words that really talk about who Ron was, what he meant to me, to the rest of the council, and to the city. Fun memories had to be dragon boat racing on the marina, and we're in our tie-dyed shirts, and we're out there trying to get a boat to move across the marina with not a lot of success that first year, but just fun, and having him there as part of our team, along with members from across the city, was a fun memory and kind of crazy fun day for all of us. I first met Ron in the grocery store at Scolari's when he was manager of Scolari's, and I had just decided to run for city council. And he was awesome. Almost every time I go shopping, I'd be in his office asking more questions, trying to understand what I was getting myself into. And he was so willing to call me, let me know how I can help you. And what he told me was, I always think about, and especially now, that I said, what do I need to know? What can you tell me? He said, you don't know what you don't know. And he said, and you learn so much. He said, I knew nothing about roads and water and all the things. And through this job, I've learned and become like an expert on transportation. So look at it as opportunities to learn and to grow, as well as serving the community. And no place better to talk about that than right here at the Southeast Connector. And Ron was one of the reasons this road happened. It was 1964. This road was starting the talks and the planning, and didn't look for a long time like it would come to fruition. And because of Ron and because of his tenacity, when he wanted to do something, he did it, and he let you know. So there was no doubt in my mind that under his leadership that this would happen. So I think every time I get on this beautiful road through our wetlands and just such a nice, calm, zen feeling of the Southeast Connector, I'm going to think of Ron, because this happened because of him. And the community will miss him, we will miss him, but his legacy will live on.
And I'm down here at the Nevada Veterans Memorial, down here at the Sparks Marina, and I'm here to honor my friend, our mayor, Ron Smith. Ron meant a lot to me from day one. He was one who took me under his wing and taught me so much about what it means to serve our city, and he was a great example. Now, I'd just like to say he's accomplished so many things, and they're important, and we will utilize them in our community and our region, but this is the heart of Ron Smith. And what I mean by that is he loved veterans, and he wanted that message to be so clear. He was a patriot. He loved our country. And so this memorial meant so much to him. His wife even told me that probably the last 6 months or so, this helped get him up and keep him moving and keep him going at times. And so here I want to tell you the things that he loved, the things he always talked about. One is that he wanted to honor that fallen veteran. We have almost 990 men and women's name to go on a wall that's going to be built right over here. But the biggest part of that, his legacy he wanted, is to make sure that the generations to come understood what freedom was and who fought for that and who gave that to them, and make sure that story was told. And so that's what this is about, the Nevada Veterans Memorial, that thing that Ron totally, for the last 5 years, pushed so hard for. So with that, I'm honored to know my friend, Ron Smith. I will miss him so much. Our mayor, my friend, a mentor. Thank you.
That was very nice.
Well done. All right, well, let's go ahead and get the city council meeting started for August 24th. Let's start with roll call.
Mayor Lawson,
Here.
Council members Abbott,
Here.
Anderson,
Here.
Bybee,
Here.
Dare,
Here.
City Attorney Adams, City Manager Croots.
Here.
We have a quorum. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go opening ceremonies to the invocation speaker. And Christopher, I'm going to ask you to give our invocation today.
Thank you so much. And just to everybody, I would ask that you would join me in a moment of silence to honor our friend and our mayor, Ron Smith, which is going to do that now. Lord, as we take a pause for just a moment to honor a truly good man who has served our community so well, Lord, I do pray for his family, and I pray for your healing just to truly surround that family as they figure out the next steps of their life and what's going on. And I pray for our city, Lord, as we continue to look to what's next, what is coming. Lord, I do pray that we look at the foundation, those things that Ron truly cared about, and even the mayors before him. Lord, there's such a great foundation here. Thank you for each leader that's sitting here now. And Lord, I pray that you help and guide us in each step we take. Thank you for Ron and his family. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. Mr. Abbott, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Yeah. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to which it stands, one nation. Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Start over. Go ahead and start over.
I pledge allegiance. I can't, Ed.
The flag.
All right, I'll take it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
The republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sorry.
That's all right. Okay. All right, Madam Clerk, we have public comment.
Yes, we do, Mr. Mayor, and I'm going to read the opening announcement and then announce public comment. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. Due to the social distancing requirements enacted in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, the Sparks City Council meetings will be hosted in this virtual setting until further notice. The safety of Sparks residents, employees, and elected officials are important to us, and we appreciate your patience as we journey through this virtual meeting together. The City of Sparks uses Zoom, a third-party app, for its virtual meetings and does not control its technical specifications or requirements. Your ability to participate in public comment during this meeting may be impacted by factors like the type of device you use, the strength of your internet or cellular signal, and the company that provides your internet or cellular service. The City of Sparks is not responsible if you are not able to participate in a meeting through Zoom due to any of these factors. We have been notified that Zoom has been having some issues today, so for any of the presenters, if for any reason we are not able to move you to a panelist, we will unmute you from the attendee section and the clerk's office will share any presentations you may need. For those watching and listening from home, general public comment will be announced for items 4 and 12.1. If you wish to speak during general public comment, you will need to call in using the phone number or join via the meeting link provided on the City Council agenda. Public comment will not be permitted on social media outlets. All participants will be muted upon entry into the meeting. If you would like to speak during public comment, please press *9 from your telephone or raise your hand from your tablet or computer when prompted. You will be called upon to speak one at a time by your name or your telephone number. No video callers will be admitted to the meeting. When you are called on to speak for public comment, please state your name for the record and begin speaking. The timer will begin when you say your name and you will have 3 minutes. Please remember, any comments or questions cannot be addressed or answered by the council if the topics have not been agendized. Any person who disrupts the meeting to the extent that it is disorderly conduct will be removed from the meeting. And at this time, if there is anybody that wishes to speak during public comment, please raise your hand or press *9 from your telephone. And I'm not showing any attendees wishing to speak at this time, Mr. Mayor, but I do have 3 emails.
Okay, let's go ahead.
Okay, the first email is from Susan DeBoer. It says, rezoning and approval of building of an apartment complex and housing developments should be determined in part by an adequate level of resources. Just this last week, residents were asked to limit use of power due to overload, and the Washoe County School District noted concern having school in session due to lack of emergency responders. Transportation, schools, roads, water, and other resources need to meet a certain level of sustainable availability prior to approval of more building. I would think tools for data-driven measures of resources and development are available. The next emailed public comment is from Puppy Mill Free Reno. It says, Dear Sparks City Council, we are very sorry for the loss of Mayor Ron Smith, so dedicated to the city of Sparks and clearly a close friend with all of you. Our heartfelt condolences go out to you personally, to Ron's family, wife, and friends, and the Northern Nevada community to which he was so committed. In our meetings with council members, one of the issues raised is concern over lawsuits. Puppy Mill Free Reno, Sparks, and Washoe's sister site, Puppy Mill Free US, has been tracking this data since 2013. There have been 14 lawsuits. Each and every one of them has failed in court. The vast majority were dismissed by the judge for lack of merit. A jurisdiction has few restrictions on the laws they can pass. An ordinance may not violate the Constitution or federal laws. Local laws cannot be less strict than the state law, but may be more so. 100% of the 14 lawsuits against Puppy Mill store bans have failed. San Diego puppy store owner David Salinas sued individual members of the city council, activists, and organizations in 2014. The judge dismissed all but one charge. A month later, Mr. Salinas dropped the suit against the city when it was clear he was draining his coffers for a lost cause. Cook County, Illinois, surrounding Chicago, case dismissed by federal judge, May 2015. East Providence, Rhode Island, March 2015, dismissed. Sunrise, Florida, June 2015, Puppy Mill store ban upheld. Phoenix, Florida, July 2015, Puppy Mill store ban upheld. Cook County, Illinois, August 2015, appeal dismissed. New York City, October 2015, case dismissed. Chicago, Illinois, November 2015, case dismissed. East Providence, Rhode Island, December 2015, appeal dismissed. Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, December 2015, dismissed under summary judgment. Embattled, New Jersey puppy store chain owner and owner of the Missouri Puppy Mill, Vincent Losacco, dropped his suit against the borough of Emerson, New Jersey in July 2016. Sarasota, Florida, June 2017, Petland loses final appeal to keep selling Puppy Mill dogs despite county ban. September 2017, series of federal court rulings, the latest upholding a Chicago anti-puppy mill law affirms state local efforts against animal cruelty. Maryland, August 2019, Maryland pet store sues to block state ban on dog cat sales. February 2020, judge upholds Maryland ban on pet stores sale of cats and dogs. A federal judge has thrown out a lawsuit that challenged Maryland's newly enacted ban on the sale of dogs and cats by retail pet stores. Kindly, Billy Howard, Marika Moore, and Renee Johnson of Puppy Mill Free Reno. And then the last emailed public comment is a section of public comment, and then it has quite a few names associated with that, which will be entered into the record. Dear Sparks City Council, I and the undersigned strongly urge the City of Sparks to follow Reno's example and pass Grady's Law, an ordinance banning the retail sale of dogs and cats within Sparks City limits. We share a community, and what happens in one affects the other. Billy Howard at Puppy Mill Free Reno, Sparks, has been working for years to get municipal ordinance banning this kind of abuse passed in Reno, Sparks, and Washoe County. And on July 29th, 2020, he finally tasted the victory he has worked so hard for. The Reno City Council voted unanimously for Grady's Law, banning the retail sale of dogs and cats within Reno city limits. Retail sales of cats and dogs too often lead to overbreeding and animal abuse. Sparks can and must do better. I also strongly urge you to pass meaningful rental assistance as soon as possible And please ensure that all rental assistance forms and services are available in Spanish as well as English. And that public comment came from Wendy Stoliarov, and as I said, has a bunch of names attached to it that will be entered into the record.
Okay. Is there any other, did anyone come on the line while we were reading through those?
Let's check right here. And it looks like we do have one phone-in public comment. And it's from telephone number 775-626-0137. Please state your name for the record and begin speaking. Hello, are you there? Looks like they're not responding at this time. And that is all I'm showing, sir.
Okay. Well, then we'll move on. If they happen to come back, we'll catch them at 12.1. All right. Moving on to item 5, the agenda. I'm looking for approval of the agenda.
Move to approve. Paul Anderson.
All Anderson.
Second Abbott.
Second,
Second Abbott.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 And just so you guys know, I am not voting. So the three of you are the voters at this point, just because of the way our charter reads. The three, four of you. I'm sorry, I can't count.
Well, we really want to see, who did you leave out?
Yeah.
You left me out.
I left myself out. I apologize. Okay. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item 6, the minutes of the August 10th, 2020 council meeting. Do I have any additions, subtractions, or deletions?
I move to approve the minutes as they are.
Motion by Mr. Dare,
Motion by Bybee to second.
second by Councilwoman Bybee. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. My mouth isn't working yet today. Announcements, presentation, recognition items, and items of special interest. Number 7, board and commission vacancy announcements, Civil Service Commission, Mr. Kreutz.
Thank you. We have one vacancy. Oh, sorry. I thought I heard somebody jump in. Sorry about that. We have a single vacancy to announce at this meeting, and that is, as Mayor Lawson has said, for the Civil Service Commission, we have a single vacancy for a 3-year term that will run through June 30th of 2023. Applicants must be Sparks residents, and the applications will be accepted through this coming Friday, the 28th at 5 p.m. If you're interested in serving on this commission, please fill out a community service application available online at our website, www.cityofsparks.us/getinvolved. Once you're there, click on volunteering for a Sparks board, commission, or committee, fill out the form, and press submit. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kreutz. Moving on to item 8, consent items. Do I have any, anyone want to pull a consent item? If not, looking for a motion.
I'll move.
Move.
I move to accept consent items 8.1 through 8.3 as presented.
Looking for a second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Dare. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to general business, item 9.1. Consideration, discussion, and possible acceptance of the donation of pedestrian safety equipment from Renowned Health Safety Kids program. Yes. There she is, Amber Sosa.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. For the record, Amber Sosa, Transportation Manager. So this item is seeking your acceptance of a donation offered from Renowned Health Safe Kids program. They were reaching out to donate pedestrian safety items, and specifically, they're offering to donate 2 RRFB systems. An RRFB, rectangular rapid flashing beacon, is a type of system that can be installed at a crosswalk that would allow the pedestrian to approach the crosswalk, press a button, and activate a flashlight that can help them be seen better through that crosswalk. Working with Renown and their team, as well as the Safe Routes to School program, the goal was really to help kids and families who are walking to schools. Again, that we're looking for school areas, not necessarily school zones. I am going to share my screen. Okay. Can you guys all see that?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Yes. Perfect. So the two locations that were chosen to go along with this donation, the first is at 4th Street and Lincoln. And this system at this location would help children attempting to walk to Lincoln Park, as well as Dilworth Middle School. The second location chosen was at Prater and 13th. Towards the center of the screen, you'll see an uncontrolled crosswalk that currently exists. And this crosswalk is really helping kids and families who are trying to get to Robert Mitchell and potentially even Sparks High, which is just to the north of the screen. Now, Renown is offering to donate all of the equipment for these two systems, and we'd be looking to have City of Sparks public work crews install them and take over the maintenance moving forward. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions, and we also have Annie Zucker from Renown on the line as well.
Questions from the council? Mr. Abbott.
Yeah, no questions, just great project. You know, I know the faculty is always there right at Robert Mitchell, helping getting kids across the street. I'm sure they'll still be there, but an added extra safety feature, you know, before we have anything tragic happen is great. And it'll be well received, and thanks Renown. I'm excited for it.
Yes, Mr. Dare.
I think it's timely too, just with the rise. This, from what I've heard, there's been a rise in accidents even since COVID has started this year. I think people be in their home, but they're not all the time. And so we've had a uptick on that with school getting back in. So I think it'd be great to figure out how to probably pinpoint a few more areas just like this. And if there's other businesses or people who could be a part of it, but that's great. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, looking for a motion. Mr. Abbott.
Move to accept the donation of pedestrian safety equipment for school zones from Renown Health Safe Kids program.
Looking for a second.
Second.
I'll second.
This time I'm going to choose Mr. Anderson. It was a tie, goes to Mr. Anderson.
A comes before B.
All right. Is there any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right. Item 9.2, review and possible approve the grant program contract AC 5684 between the City of Sparks and the Reno Housing Authority in the amount not to exceed $2 million of coronavirus aid relief and economic security act CARES funds to provide residential assistance to tenants residing within the corporate limits of the City of Sparks. And I believe Armando is going to do this, or Jim?
So I'm going to be presenting two related items to you. They are both proposed contracts with the Reno Housing Authority to administer federal funds for the provision of rental assistance to Sparks residents that have been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. This first item is for the provision up to $2 million of the CARES Act funding that the City of Sparks is receiving from the state of Nevada. Is the screen visible to you now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So in terms of, well, let me see here. In terms of background, the city, as you are aware, has received just under $19.2 million of CARES Act funding from the state of Nevada. Included in the Coronavirus Relief Fund expenditure plan that was a requirement of receiving the funds, the city included as an activity the provision of rental assistance. So we have covered that base with the state. As city staff began to identify options for providing rental assistance to Sparks households impacted by COVID, we became aware of the fact that the state of Nevada is also undertaking a similar effort, and in fact has allocated $30 million for this purpose with an earmark of $5 million for Washoe County. For to get those dollars out in Washoe County, the state is contracting with the Reno Housing Authority to administer and disperse those funds. The thinking on the part of staff was that really the most efficient way to get more dollars out to more Sparks households was to utilize the program infrastructure that the state had developed in conjunction with the Reno Housing Authority for Washoe County, and therefore to also contract with the Reno Housing Authority. And so the proposed contract that is in front of you today really closely models that state RHA contract with regard to things like the design of the program, applicant eligibility, and the terms of the contract. And again, the thought here was to streamline this as much as possible so that the Reno Housing Authority could focus on getting these dollars out in what is a relatively short period of time between now and the end of the calendar year. So what does the program look like? Well, the RHA would take the dollars it receives from the city of Sparks and use them to provide rental assistance to eligible Sparks tenants. The program allows for rent payments to be made on behalf of a tenant going back to April 1 and to continue through the end of the calendar year. So in theory, at least, that allows for potentially as much as 9 months of rental assistance to a household. With regard to the eligibility of households, if you are a household that's been impacted and are looking to apply, these are the requirements. First of all, for these $2 million, you must be a tenant in Sparks with a current lease for which you owe back rent. You have to be able to demonstrate financial hardship due to COVID, and this includes, for example, the loss of employment, a reduction in work hours, and/or a reduction in wages. The program allows for households with incomes, and these are pro-pandemic or pre-pandemic incomes of up to 120% of the area median income for Washoe County. So for the current year, and these are examples, for a two-person household, that would be up to $76,440, or for a five-person household, $103,200. The household cannot be receiving federal vouchers for housing assistance, and their liquid financial resources cannot exceed $3,000. When we ran through this item at senior staff previously, the question arose, well, just what are market rate rents in Sparks currently? And the best available data is from a quarterly survey that the appraisal firm of Johnson, Perkins, and Griffin conducts every quarter for the Reno Sparks market. They look at it as a whole and they look at submarkets. These are for properties with 80 or more units. So of course that excludes smaller units, smaller properties, and single family homes that are offered for rent, but it gives you some sense of what rents are. The overall average for Reno Sparks in the second quarter was $1,369. For the submarket defined as West Sparks and the North Valleys, which is the area north of the river and west of Pyramid, and includes the North Valleys of Reno and I guess what you would say Spanish Springs, that average was $1,200. For East Sparks, which is the area defined as north of the river and east of Pyramid Way, the figure was $1,510. And I will note that that's actually the highest average rent in the region by a little bit. And then they combined downtown Reno and downtown Sparks, and that's just slightly less at $1,507. Okay, so if you are a Sparks tenant and you are looking to apply for this assistance, the way you would go about this is through the state of Nevada's website at www.housing.nv.gov. That's a portal that's available statewide, but those applications that come in from Sparks tenants will be routed to the Reno Housing Authority. And after they're reviewed, and if they qualify, then they will be notified as to their approval. And it's important to note that these funds are dispersed not to the tenant, but directly to the landlord. In terms of the proposed contract terms, again, this is for an amount not to exceed $2 million. It goes back to March 30th, but the cutoff for incurring the funds is December 11th. And again, because there's so much money flowing out the door here very rapidly, and because the city of Sparks is receiving these funds in advance, the city will advance the first $1 million to the Reno Housing Authority as working capital after the commencement of this agreement. And I believe that the Reno Housing Authority Board of Directors is scheduled to consider this agreement tomorrow. The city will advance the remaining $1 million to the Reno Housing Authority no later than October 31st, although I will note that there is a provision in the agreement that if the Reno Housing Authority has expended $900,000 of the first $1 million sooner than that, then they can request the balance. And then the program or the contract allows for up to 10% of the funds to be used for program delivery costs, and that would be provided to the Reno Housing Authority in $200,000 tranches. All of the funds that are not expended or incurred by the Reno Housing Authority by December 11th must be returned to the city by December 30th. There is a provision in the agreement that requires the Reno Housing Authority to notify the city by December 15th if they are going to have unexpended funds, and then that would enable city staff to repurpose the unexpended funds for other purposes. And then, of course, there are reporting requirements, and the Reno Housing Authority will have to provide the city with client usage records and demographic data. So in terms of the staff recommendation and alternatives to it, the city council can approve the proposed contract between the city of Sparks and the Reno Housing Authority. The council could alternatively modify the terms of the agreement, of course, subject to the agreement by the Reno Housing Authority, or the council can reject the proposed contract and provide direction to the city manager. That concludes my presentation. I will make myself available for questions, and Amy Jones, who is the executive director of the Reno Housing Authority, is also here and available, and I wanted to thank her for working through these proposed contracts with us in conjunction with their legal counsel here over the last few weeks.
Okay, questions from the council? Yep. Mr. Abbott.
Real quick, Armando, assuming we pass today, then our HA passes it tomorrow. How soon can our Sparks residents start applying for this?
Well, I will note, first of all, that the Sparks residents have been able to apply for these funds, for the funds available from the state already. So really what we're doing is we're adding $2 million that are specifically earmarked for the city of Sparks. But I would actually ask Ms. Jones to take that question in terms of how we move forward from here.
You have to unmute yourself, Amy. There we
Hear
go.
me?
There
Okay.
you go.
Oh, I have an echo. Okay, can you hear me now? Mm-mm.
Yes.
Let me do it this way. Okay, is that better?
Yeah.
It is, okay. So we have to date received 1,500 applications for this program. And I did have staff pull the numbers. To date, we've received 428 applications for City of Sparks residents. And our plan, if this is approved today by council, we will then just be routing those applications accordingly. So once we are able to certify a file, determine that they're eligible, then we will route them to the most appropriate program. So if they are a City of Sparks resident, then we would route them to use that funding. And I know I'm jumping forward, but we would also be able to route them to the CDBG funds if they meet those criteria. So the funding would be able to go out immediately as we certify those files.
So we already have people in the wait list for it. Cool. Thank you.
So a quick question for me, Amy. Amy, we're going to use the Sparks funds first, and then they would go on to like a state program or a county program?
That's our thought process, because we do have the funds from the state of Nevada, which is the entire Washoe County, and then we would have funding from the city of Sparks, so we could allocate those individuals that are eligible, refer them, and use the funding from the city of Sparks.
Okay, perfect. Ms. Spivey.
Thank you. My question was on rental assistance. Is it the full amount of rent for the months that each applicant has had financial difficulties? And some people it might be March and April, some it could be since March. And is it for that full rental amount for the months that, or maybe they were able to do partial? Is that all in the application to kind of spell out what the true financial need for each individual applicant is?
So it is the full amount of rent for the period of time that they're found eligible. So initially we're looking at that back rent that is due. So we're looking at, did they have a COVID related loss of income, and verifying that. And then those payments can be made going forward for the full amount as long as they still qualify with that related loss. I just lost my train of thought. We will be recertifying those individuals on a 3-month basis for those payments. So they may not be eligible going forward because they may have resumed their employment. There may be differing factors as far as that eligibility is concerned.
Thank you. And thank you, Reno Housing Authority, for helping us find a way to use this money in such one of the greatest needs I think we have in the community and in the state is rental assistance for people who have been so severely impacted because we've had so many people lose jobs in Nevada that the rental assistance can truly go directly to that. And I really appreciate your partnership and our ability for you to do that with the money we've been given. And the state money is just going to do some amazing things. And thank you for your partnership. I appreciate it.
Well, I want to thank all of you for considering the Housing Authority to administer those funds. This has been a huge concern of mine. As soon as the moratorium was put in place, what are these individuals and these families going to do? So I'm grateful for the state. I'm grateful for all of you that we can help the community in a way that we don't normally under our traditional programs.
Mr. Anderson.
I have a question for Armando. A couple actually, clarifications on the contract. So I'm seeing that if the Housing Authority wishes to get assistance from another group or another organization, they come to us for permission. That decision is made by the Housing Authority and not by the city.
Let me pull up the agreement, council member.
And nothing against Amy, and likewise, thank you for what you guys are doing. My concern though is just if all of a sudden we see a flood, once people realize that there's help, and my concern is that we're effectively moving the funds as quickly as possible to those in need. And I just want to make sure I understand clearly how the process works if you guys need help.
That's a great question, great concern. So we have brought on additional staff because this is an increased workload for us. So we've brought on additional staff to help us with the processing of these applications and verifying the eligibility. So we have had time in the last couple of weeks working with the state funds to streamline that process. And so just to explain this process so you all understand it, applications will be taken online, solely online. If an individual does not have access to a computer, they can call us and we will help walk them through that application process. And then from there, we are moving into that eligibility requirement. So we do have to verify that there is a related loss due to COVID, as well as that there is back rent owed. And so, obtaining that information, because we are very, we have a process when we do those verifications and we're very strict on that process. So we're working through that and getting those verifications. As soon as we have everything, then they go to one of our staff, our director level staff, and they will verify that eligibility. And then we send it to our finance department for payment. The benefits though, with the Housing Authority doing this and administering these funds is we already have those processes in place, with our public housing and our rental assistance program. We have this process and we're very good at verifying this information as well as we already have a process to make those landlord payments through our software and through our finance department. So I would like to say we have it very streamlined, and this is new to us. So we are, we have some hiccups and we know how to work through that. I do anticipate come September 1st, we are going to have more applications. And I think something to consider is looking at, do we have to halt the program if we do have an influx? And the reason I say that is because Clark County received $20 million of funds through the state of Nevada, and they've already had to pause their program just based on the number of applications received and the projected funding that will go out. They don't want to overstate what they have and, overcommit the funds. And so I think that's something, we're looking at right now with the state funds. Where are we at with that? And I think that may be something, if there's an influx that, we approach council to say, we've received an influx of applications. I think we need to halt it so we can work these files and we don't overcommit those funds.
And wouldn't people though be in jeopardy of being evicted though at that point if you have to halt the program?
So there is, the caveat that as funds are available, and we are processing these files first come, first serve. So, I would like to say no, but, we have to process first come, first serve. And, if we get to the point where we run out of money, we don't want to get to that point. So that's why we're going to continue to watch those funds.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I hope I answered your question.
Oh, you did a great job. And Armando, I guess on the contract side, were you able to find that?
And would you repeat for me, Councilman Anderson, your specific question?
I wasn't clear in the contract if it's the city or if it's the housing authority that determines that if they need help to go out and get assistance from another agency or another group. To me, it looks like it's the Reno Housing Authority that does that. Is that correct?
In terms of assistance, other types of assistance?
Yeah, in other words, processing claims.
Yeah, I think we are effectively looking to the Reno Housing Authority to administer this program. So yes, it would be up to them to, if they need help, to within the constraints of the contract, including the 10% administrative cap on program costs, to do that.
Okay, and I guess the one thing I would just ask Amy is, please, if I would say if you guys need help, and if there are other organizations out there, and I've heard of some that don't have a real long track record, but may be able to give you guys some assistance as well. That's something I would ask. The other thing, I'm not sure who would be best for directing this question, but my concern is the courts, where we are in the eviction process. Are we going to be having the courts working directly with the Reno Housing Authority, or how is that going to work when it comes to evictions?
So as far as our process, it is the resident that will be coming to us, completing the application and requesting that payment to their landlord. We are going to work with all the landlords that we can to provide that assurance that we are going to make these payments once we determine them as eligible. So residents will be coming to us. Landlords won't be coming to us individually. It will have to come through the resident.
And have you had any conversations with our courts to make sure that if someone's coming before them for eviction, to make sure that everyone knows that you guys are a resource?
I have not had any conversations with the courts, no.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
All right, Councilman Dare.
Yeah, I have a couple questions too. Thank you, Amy, for being here and being there, and Armando. One of it is just, you mentioned there's about 450 people who've already put in for the City of Sparks. If you average out even just 5 months for them, we only actually can serve 285 people. So we already, I probably what I'm looking for is a little direction from you, but how much do you anticipate each person potentially, you think everybody would need 9 months, 5 months, 1 month, or is it just really that varied that it just, what are you seeing or what do you think on that? That'd be my first question.
Yes. So just based on what we're seeing right now with the state program, we have, we're paying approximately $3,200 in arrears. So that's going to be up until this point. So looking at that average based on the number of Sparks residents, I came up with $1.3 million if we're just looking at arrears. I don't have a good sense of going forward as of yet because we've only been focusing on the arrears. I will say with the moratorium being lifted September 1st, I do think there's going to be an influx of applications. So I'm sorry I can't answer your question necessarily going forward, but I am seeing that arrearage to be about $3,200 as of now.
So, I mean, part of my question on that too is, so I know there's state money or other money potential, and I think our money is going to disappear rather quickly because as much as it seems like a lot of money, when it's talking about many families, it's not. And so is there going to be a pretty quick bridge for these families? Because if not, part of me wonders if we should take any more names. And believe me, I want to take more names, but you just said there's 450, and so I'm concerned.
Yes, I also have those concerns. You know, like I said, we are in the process right now of evaluating the state funds, and I would absolutely be open to, you know, if this is approved, evaluating the Sparks funds, to processing the applications we already have, and then looking if we should reopen it based on what we're getting back.
That'd be good. Thank you. And then, so do you have any idea? Well, I'm just wondering, anticipation. I mean, this is the business you do. 485. I mean, do you think we have another potential 500 people out there that are in this situation? Do you have any idea, or is that just beyond the ability to know?
I can't give you a figure, but like I said, I think September 1st, we're going to get an influx. Mm-hmm.
And then my final thing, and I think, thank you. You've done a really great answering our questions. I just want to reiterate one thing that Paul said just regarding staffing. Just so you know, the rumor, we used to pay attention with a lot of different people. You're getting a lot of increase of finances, which is, I'm sure you've been running around trying to figure out what to do. So none of this is a shot at you, but it is a question of, do you truly have the staff needed to be able to complete what we're asking? And I think it's a fair question, knowing that you're very competent, but just, you only have so much people.
Sure.
Are you feeling pretty confident to be able to run forward?
Yes. Like I said, we brought on 6 additional staff, and really that is doing the administrative work to get all of the paperwork in order, in line, so we ensure that these individuals are in fact eligible for the program. So I do have that confidence, and then we're relying on our higher level staff to ensure that they are eligible and do that certification. So we're making those payments. Now, again, you know, this is a new program for us, and you know, we're learning as we go. So if we start to see that we need more staff or need to make changes, I absolutely will come forward to, you know, look at what other options there are out there. As mentioned, you know, that there are some people that may be able to help with this.
And then my final things to Armando, to our staff, I'd like next month to hear if this goes, everything starts flying, where we're at. Because part of my concern, I don't want a waiting list of people with hopes up that something's going to happen that's not, and we're out of money and things of that fashion. Yes, sir, Neil?
I would ask you to direct that towards me.
Okay. And so do you staff? Aren't you staff too? So
I am. I'm just going back to our charter where you give direction to me, not to staff.
However you want to word it, sir. So I know that Armando was the one talking to us. So to city manager, to whoever else he wants to talk to about it, I'm asking that you bring that back, because I want to make sure that we are aware of what is happening. And I also want to make sure that we're pretty close watching, that there's not a waiting list of people thinking that Sparks is coming through with some finances we don't have. Thank you.
And just from my standpoint, it was a couple, 2 or 3 years ago, we talked about renaming the Reno Housing Authority as a Regional Housing Authority, because they truly do work across all borders and work with all entities. So just to put everybody's mind at ease that lives in Sparks, that somehow we need to stand up an organization. These folks have already been doing it. They've been doing it for a lot of years, and they do an excellent job. And I want to thank you, Amy, for that. Because
Thank you.
Done an awesome job.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments? And if not, I'm looking for a motion. Anybody? Mr. Abbott.
Let me just get over there. I move to approve the grant program contract AC-5684 between the City of Sparks and the Reno Housing Authority in an amount not to exceed $2 million of the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, the CARES Act, funds to provide residential rental assistance to tenants residing within the corporate limits of City of Sparks.
Looking for a second?
I'll second.
Second
by Bybee.
Second by Ms. Bybee. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Armando, 9.3.
Okay.
I'm assuming it's pretty much the same thing.
Well, Mayor Lawson, members of the Sparks, pardon me. Mayor Lawson, members of the City Council, Armando Ornelas, again, Assistant Community Services Director. This is similar, but I'm going to run through both some of the differences and a couple of the similarities. Again, this is a contract with the Reno Housing Authority to administer federal monies for the provision of rental assistance to Sparks households impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. This item specifically is for $402,633 of community development block grant funding. And it's earmarked to provide rental assistance to low and moderate income Sparks households. These dollars were awarded to the City of Sparks as supplemental dollars to the city's regular community development block grants in the CARES Act. And again, they're earmarked for low and moderate income persons or for meeting a CDBG urgent need national objective. In terms of background on this item, back on June 22nd, the City Council directed the city manager to pursue the utilization of these dollars, 2/3 for the provision of rental assistance and 1/3 to provide assistance to businesses. And as I already noted, as we began to look around for options for the rental assistance program, we became aware of the state program and their contract with the Reno Housing Authority. We reached out to the Reno Housing Authority and discussed the CDBG funds specifically. And Ms. Jones indicated that RHA has the capacity and was willing to administer these CDBG funds. On the other hand, staff struggled to identify an entity with the requisite capacity to administer a business assistance program for a number of reasons. One is the relatively small funds that were being considered, $134,000. So, it takes a lot of effort to stand up a program like this. And as you can imagine, $134,000 would not go very far. There are some additional record keeping and reporting requirements that HUD imposes, and then the short time frame to spend funds. So staff is here in front of you proposing that the council approve a contract with RHA to use all of the CDBG supplemental dollars, the full $402,633 for rental assistance. One of the differences between this program and the other CARES Act funded program is that the grants are only for up to 3 months for eligible Sparks residents. They are paid to the landlord directly, which is similar to the other program. The other eligibility requirements are similar. You have to be a tenant in Sparks with a current active lease. You have to be able to demonstrate financial hardship due to COVID-19. The household income, however, is substantially lower. For the CDBG funds, they're limited to households with incomes at 80% or less of area median income. For a 2-person household, for example, that would be $50,000. And for a 5-person household, that would be $67,500. Other requirements are similar, may not reside in public housing or receive other governmental rental assistance, for example, emergency shelter grant assistance or Section 8 funding, cannot have liquid financial resources in excess of $3,000, and they may not be getting evicted for a reason other than non-payment of rent. The process can be started through the state of Nevada's portal. But given the emphasis on the on low and moderate income households, there is an option here for RHA to accept applications directly. The terms of the contract provide that the city will disperse funds to RHA on a reimbursement basis. So this is a distinction between this and the other program. The CDBG program does not allow the city to draw down funds in advance, and so RHA will have to disperse funds, submit a request to the city, and then be reimbursed. And then all funds must be expended on or prior to December 30th of this calendar year. However, if there were some reason why these funds were more difficult for the Reno Housing Authority to get out the door, and if they had failed to expend 50% of the funding by November 16th, 2020, the city could terminate the agreement. And then once again, 10% of the funds may be used for program delivery costs. In this case, that equates to $40,263. There are reporting requirements. Specifically, reports are due to the city within 30 days of October 30th and December 30th of this year. Staff is recommending that the council approve the proposed contract between the City of Sparks. Alternatives to the staff recommendation are modification of the terms of the agreement subject to RHA's concurrence, or rejecting the program contract and providing direction to the city manager. That concludes my presentation. Again, both I and Amy Jones are available for your questions.
Questions, anyone? Ms. Spivey.
Yeah, I'm concerned because I understand what you're saying with the business assistance, that it's not a lot of money and we don't have an entity to make sure that happens. But I guess I have a question looking at what HUD's requirements on the CDGB money for this CARES Act supplemental. It does say assistance to businesses. It does have some other helping with the homeless, with the elderly, but even with relation to businesses, is there any way? A lot of these businesses have need rental assistance. Some of the businesses that haven't been in business are experiencing the inability to pay their rent. I get that there's not enough money there maybe to make a difference, but I'm a little frustrated that we can't do something with the other program and the state program focusing on the rental assistance that the CDGB funds. And I know it's low to moderate, so it is a different sector than what the previous one was, but between the two of them, that we can't do something or find some other way to help our businesses within the confines of the time frame we're in and the restrictions that, and I don't have an answer to that. I'm just a little frustrated that we can't. Feel like, can we do something?
Councilwoman Bybee, it's outside the scope of this agenda item, but the city's plan filed with the state for receipt of the $19.2 million does include the provision of business assistance. So per direction from the city manager, in concurrence with that plan, staff is identifying options for providing rental assistance to businesses. The state has a program that they have launched. We are looking hopefully to do something similar to what we are doing here, where we essentially are piggybacking on an existing effort. And the state's or the city's plan includes potentially $1 million for that purpose. So we are hopeful as a staff that we will be able to bring you an item to do that, to provide assistance to businesses specifically for paying their rent in September.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. That's what I was looking for.
Thank you.
Mr. Dare.
I'm prepared to make a motion when you'd like.
Okay, just make a motion.
Okay, I move to approve the grant program contract AC 5683 between the City of Sparks and the Reno Housing Authority in the amount not to exceed $402,633 of Community Development Block Grant funds allocated to the City of Sparks through the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, CARES Act, to provide the residential rental assistance to tenants residing within the corporate limits of the City of Sparks.
Looking for a second? Second.
I'll make the second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, moving on. 9.4, right? Consideration of possible approval to utilize Coronavirus Aid Relief and Economic Security Act coronavirus relief funding to purchase telenetwork technology equipment from Summit Partners. And I'll let you read the rest of that, but in the amount of $349,800. And I believe Jeff Kronk is going to do this, or?
Actually, Mayor, I'll tackle that one.
Rich Brown, okay.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of council. Rich Brown, your IT manager for the record. And the item I have for you today is, in a nutshell, a significant augmentation of the existing telework equipment we have deployed to support the city's remote work effort. And as a bit of background on this particular item, kind of to describe how we got to where we are today. Back during the declaration of the pandemic event on March 15th, staff was tasked with undertaking a pretty significant remote work effort in relatively short order. And that effort was two-pronged. There was an IT infrastructure piece, which includes things like servers and networks. And then there was the telework equipment, namely laptops. The infrastructure piece was relatively easy to accommodate because it merely involved expanding a lot of the work we'd already done for the few staff who already were capable of remote work for things like conference attendance and things like that. So reconfiguring those pieces was a little bit of work, but it was done with great success. The other side of that, the telework equipment piece, namely our laptops, wasn't quite as successful. And the reason that was is because at the moment we didn't have a whole lot of options. And we were able to get most of the remote work and staff running through the use of largely retired equipments, a few new purchases, and in a lot of cases, I'd say probably 40% of the case, staff was using personal devices. And that's how we got to where we are today. So this plan proposes a significant change to that in that we're going to purchase in total 120 devices, 101 laptops and 19 mobile data computers, also known as MDCs. The laptops we'll be purchasing will come in 3 different grades. One I'm calling a desktop grade, which basically is a laptop sufficient for general computing tasks like word processing, email, spreadsheets, things of that nature. And then a grade up from that will be the workstation grade of laptop, which allows for more intensive IT sort of tasks like high volume data analysis and manipulation, as well as some mapping functionality. And then the last grade of laptop is going to be the engineering grade, which has all of the capability of the grades below it with the additional ability of dedicated graphics, which makes for a significantly easier computer-aided design process. So those are the laptops. The other item I have of some concern is our MDCs, or mobile data computers. These devices originally were slated for the fiscal year 21 CIP, but they were removed as part of that CIP trimming effort that went on in the fall of fiscal 19. But when CARES came up, we decided to bring these forward, mostly due to the importance of the precautionary health safety information that our fire staff receives from these devices. So it felt like an appropriate use of those monies to pick up these mobile data computers. And these will be expressly for fire. The police department's MDCs are in good shape for another year, I believe. So yeah, that is IT's CARES plan. And with that, that concludes my presentation. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions from the council? Ms. Bybee.
Yeah, Rich, as far as this new equipment, what time frame do we kind of hope that we're looking at? I know lifespan for technology is here and gone very quickly, but as you look at these devices, because we're working remotely now and we will continue to from, well, we don't know for how long, and that capability is extremely important. And I applaud you and your staff for reacting so quickly and that we've been able to keep the city running. But as we look at this investment, which is critical, what kind of lifespan are we looking at on these devices or other devices that will be periodically? How often do we have to look at renewing or upgrading what we're doing today?
So in short, as soon as humanly possible. There's a couple limiting factors. One will be availability of devices. Fortunately, the supply chain troubles that COVID created for the manufacturers in China seems to be easing, and our vendors have assured me that most to the degree of 80% or so of the devices we're going to be requesting are on hand already. So then the question will become was how quickly can we configure and deploy these devices? My hope is we can start as soon as the week after next. But again, that'll be dependent upon when we can actually take shipment of this equipment. And it'll be an all hands on deck plan in IT to get them out as quickly as possible to help the folks that need it most.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I'm looking for a motion.
Mr. Anderson. Motion. Move to approve the utilization of CARES funding to purchase telework equipment from Summit Partners, LLC, and CDW-Z and other vendors as needed in an approximate amount of $349,800.
Looking for a second?
Second that.
Mr. Dare, second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, will all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, guys. Thanks for. All right, moving on. 9.5, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of a construction contract AC 5682 for the 2020 Regional Trail retaining wall replacement and upgrades, federally funded, project bid number, a whole bunch of letters to the Reno Construction Company in the amount of Reno Tahoe Construction in the amount of $178,957.23.
Mayor, members of council, for the record, Amber Sosa, Transportation Manager. Thank you for that. This item for your consideration is the aforementioned contract for the 2020 Regional Trail Retaining Wall Replacement and Upgrade Project. I am going to now share my screen. Is that visible?
It is. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. I wanted to orientate you guys as to where this project is. To the left of your screen, you'll see Sparks Boulevard, and towards the bottom, you'll see Los Altos. This retaining wall sits along our regional trail, just at the back of these homes, and it's outlined in red. To give you one other perspective. So this picture is a current picture that I actually took just a couple weeks ago. To the top, you can see that fence line. That's where those homes are coming in. And then you see the wall just adjacent to the trail. And what you're seeing a lot in this picture is you're seeing the erosion that is coming over the top of the trail, or over the top of the wall, excuse me, and onto the trail, as well as the wall actually deteriorating itself. So now this project is important to replace that retaining wall so that we can maintain access for pedestrians along that trail, as well as it will help reduce Public Works maintenance crews time with them addressing erosion in the area. So this project is a part of an FHWA grant that the city of Sparks received. These type of grants are administered by NDOT. The city and NDOT entered into the agreement, the LPA, Local Public Agency Agreement, in July of 2018. These type of projects involve oversight through NDOT through the entire design process and the bid process, and we finally got to the point where we were ready to bid this project. With this type of grant, the city is eligible to receive up to 95% reimbursement for the actual cost of the project. We moved forward with advertising the project and we opened bids on July 29th. We were very excited to receive 9 bidders, and Reno Tahoe Construction Company was the low bidder at the $178,957.23. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions from the council? Okay, looking for a motion then. Mr. Dare.
Yeah, good job finding this. I think it's always great when we can get federal help on some of our funded projects. So good job. I move to approve the 2020 Regional Trail Retaining Wall Replacement and Upgrades federally funded project AC 5682 to Reno Tahoe Construction in the amount of $178,957.23.
Okay, looking for a second.
I'll second. Second by Bybee.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Thanks, Amber. Okay, 9.6, consideration and possible approval of a contract AC 5685 with West Coast Code and Consultants, Inc. for the amount not to exceed $150,000 for fire building permit plan review services in fiscal year 21. And who's doing this? Chris, Mr. McCubbins. Fire Marshal McCubbins, sorry. I think.
Members of the council, my name is Chris McCubbins, Fire Marshal for City Sparks, just for the record. This is for consideration and possible approval for a contract with West Coast Code Consultants for the fiscal year of 21. Basically, what this will allow us to do is to provide a timely plan review and consulting service for the development community, and to help ensure that we stay consistent and get the plan review turned around relatively quickly. WC3 does only charge or invoice us for the plans that they review, and that process is overseen by the fire marshal, and it is the same as the fiscal year 20's contract. So with that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Questions from the council? Then Mr. Dare.
I just want to say this, I think we found in our own, or what we do right here in City Hall, a great use of finances and the help of keeping this going. And that it's been actually, from what I've seen and heard, I think this department is doing really great and keeping things moving quickly. So anything we can do to help continue to keep Sparks moving that way. So good job. Thanks.
Any other comments? I'm looking for a motion then. Anybody?
I'll move. I move to approve contract AC 5685 with West Coast Code Consultants, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $150,000 for building fire permit plan review services in fiscal year 21.
Looking for a second. Mr. Anderson?
Second that.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Fire Marshal McCubbins.
Thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to 9.7. This is a first reading, and I'm going to let the clerk take it from here.
This is the first reading of Bill number 2776 to rezone real property approximately 28.81 acres in size within a larger parcel 386.87 acres in size, generally located at 555 Highland Ranch Parkway, from approximately 15 acres of C2 general commercial and 13.81 acres of SF6 single family residential 6,000 square foot lots to MF2 multifamily residential, PCN 19-0040. A public hearing will be held and Bill number 2776 will be acted upon at the regular meeting of the Sparks City Council on Monday, September 14th, 2020 at 2 p.m.
Okay. We don't have any public hearing action items unrelated to planning zoning or related to planning and zoning. So we'll move on to comments from the public, 12.1. Madam Clerk, do we have any comments?
If anybody is wishing to make public comment at this time, please raise your hand or press *9 from your telephone. And we'll give them just 1 minute, Mr. Mayor.
Sure. We need the Jeopardy song in here.
I'm not showing any at this time, sir.
Okay. All right, moving on to 12.2, comments from the mayor, city council, and city manager. Anybody? Mr. Cruz.
Thank you, Mayor Lawson. I've got three comments to cover today. The first two are related to the CARES Act funding. I wanted to let everybody know that I did execute a contract with the University of Nevada, Reno last week on the COVID testing protocols that we're working on the university with using the influent that's headed into Tumworth. That's a $1.8 million contract. I signed that contract under our emergency, under the declaration of our emergency that we're still in, because trying to get it in front of you for adoption would have had us wait until September 14th, just given the way the timing went. So I signed it. It will be on your agenda on the 14th of September for ratification. So we're excited to have that work underway. The second thing is going back to the discussion earlier on Reno Housing Authority and the work that they're going to do on our behalf. We're already providing you kind of broader COVID-related fiscal updates at the first meeting of each month. So what we will do is we will add our progress with the Reno Housing Authority into those updates as well, so that you're hearing that in public at least once a month. We will also be adding it to your monthly community services updates, so that you're going to be hearing about it routinely, so you can see where we're going. So, doing our best to keep all of you in the loop. And then third, I want to give a big shout out to our staff as a whole for how quickly they rolled into this CARES Act distribution program. It's $19 million and change. It's about a quarter of our general fund budget. And we got together as a staff, people across all departments, and figured out how to put this money to work outside of our organization and inside of our organization, giving us multiple opportunities to get this money expended in a very short period of time. So, we've known about the distribution for 60 days, and now we are already well down the road towards having it expended to the extent that we have a plan for its complete use and a series of backups in place if things don't pan out as forecast. So a big shout out to staff and all departments for their willingness to roll up their sleeves and dive in and help out our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments from the council? Bobby.
Yeah, just a couple of things. I would like to first give a shout out to our communication director, Julie Duell, for the beautiful tribute that she filmed very quickly last week with all of us, and the time she spent putting together a beautiful video with pictures and memories of Mayor Smith. And it was her usual, just first class work, and the time she put into that is much appreciated. And also to say how much I appreciate the outreach from the community that I think all of us are getting, and I think Ron's family is, but just hearing from so many people across the community and the state on our loss really means a lot. And I want to thank those who have reached out to us and to Mayor Smith's family. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dare.
Yeah, I'd like to just say to our staff and to our citizens that, whenever there's change, and obviously Ron Smith's passing is big change, and there's a few other things that are shifting. Sometimes it feels like you're kind of just moving a little bit. And I'll tell you, I just like to say and remind you as staff that we have an incredible team. You guys are fantastic. I think as it comes to our city, when it comes to what we get to do as a council, we will continue to work very diligently. We have incredible people here, and I look forward to seeing what happens. And I know we'll honor Ron and his memory and the things that he cares for. So let's just continue to keep their family in prayer and in our city. But thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Abbott? No?
I can take a quick, definitely, I think we all can thank staff for all the good that's, it's been a wild last 7 days for all of us, and just seeing all the support from the community has been great. Definitely shout out to Lamar. If anyone hasn't seen the board that they put up, and for Ron, that was great. Definitely was a surprise to see, and that's our community. That's Sparks, as Reno. As much as we make fun of each other across the border, is we're all one big community, and we all care about each other, and time we all come together. So thank you all, from the city staff to the residents. It's a special time for all of us to support each other and be one, and we'll get through this together. So thank you.
Mr. Adams, I see you're unmuted. Did you have a comment?
My name is simply a request. First, an observation. We all know what a softie.
I need you to speak up into the microphone more. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We all know what a softie was. And your tribute to him today, from all the electeds out there, definitely brought it to his heart. He's truly loved. And my request to Madam Clerk is that we're going to have a separate Zoom invitation to the redevelopment agency. And I could get one of those as well. As a participant in that I asked invite.
Kind of hard to hear there, but I'm assuming we're going to have another meeting, is what I heard.
Yeah, I need a link to it.
Okay. Thank you. Lisa, will you coordinate with the?
If we're just going to stay on here, that's fine. I can stay here. Good. All right. Perfect. I don't need nothing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Anderson, are you good?
Yeah, actually, just want to say kind of the echo. We're all missing Ron, and my heart goes out to the city employees that I think knew him extremely well and worked with him for years, and likewise his family. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to say too to the employees is we obviously got thrust into a position that I wasn't expecting to at this time, but I've been training for this. I've been on the council for 10 years. I'm looking forward to the new days. We got to get through this mourning period, and we need to honor our mayor, and let's not forget about him. But there'll be some announcements coming in the near future, and I just want you to rest assured that no big epiphanies are going to happen under my watch. So with that, I will close comments from the city council and mayor, and without objection, we are adjourned from the city council meeting.
Okay. So with that, I would like to call to order the Sparks Redevelopment Agency meeting of Monday, August 24th, 2020, with a roll call.
Chairperson Bybee.
Here.
Agency members Abbott.
Here.
Lawson.
Here.
Anderson.
Here.
Dare.
Here.
Chief Legal Officer Adams.
Here.
Chief Administrative Officer Kreutz.
Here.
We have a quorum. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. On to item 3.0, public comment. Do we have any public comment?
If anybody is wishing to make public comment at this time, please raise your hand or press *9 from your telephone, and we will give them just one moment, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
And it looks like I'm showing none.
Thank you. We'll move on to item 4.1, approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve, Abbott.
Okay, I have a motion by agency member Abbott. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by agency member Anderson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 5.1, minutes, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of the minutes of the Sparks Redevelopment Agency meeting of July 27th, 2020. Do I have any corrections, additions, or a motion to approve the minutes?
Move to approve.
I have a motion by agency member Dare to approve. Do I have a second?
Second, Abbott.
I have a second by agency member Abbott. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 6.1, business items. Consideration and possible acceptance of the report of the claims and bills approved for payment and appropriation transfers for the period of July 14th, 2020 through August 6th, 2020. Do I have any discussion or motion to approve?
Move to approve item 6.1.
Okay, I have a motion to approve by agency member Lawson. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by agency member Anderson. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 7.1, comments from the public. Madam Clerk, do we have any comments from the public?
If you would like to make a public comment at this time, please press *9 from your telephone or raise your hand from your Zoom app. And it doesn't look like we have any, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item 7.2, comments from the agency and Chief Administrative Officer. Do I have any comments from any agency members? Seeing none, I'll close that. Item 8, we are adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Bye. Thanks, guys.